All right. Hey there. What's going on, everybody? Chris Franks with Texas West Capital coming at you guys live here just a few minutes after 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Friday, the 7th of June, 2024. We can call it Jobs Report Day. We can call it Roaring Kitty Day. I think he's live streaming right now, too. So I may not have many people watching in today. But hey, we're still going to do some market analysis. We're still going to check out things, right? And man, oh man, do me a favor before we get going here, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, follow me, depending wherever you're seeing this stream at. Leave a comment. I really appreciate the comments. Always trying to do better here. So hopefully you guys are doing all right. I see Data's here. What's going on? Peter's here. Andrew, good to see you guys. Excuse me. So today we're going to talk about, man, oh man, what's been going on with the Bitcoin ETFs. We're going to talk a little bit about employment numbers. We're going to talk about, maybe even talk about GME a little bit. Man, whatever else we can kind of get on the thought process here, right? Take a look at the markets and what's going on there, and just kind of basically say, see, it's just doing the same thing we expected it to do, right? So how are y'all doing today? Are y'all joining in here feeling good, feeling positive, feeling let's do this? Or are you kind of, oh man, it's the end of the week, ready for the weekend? Or maybe even, man, there's a bunch of crap going on in the world and I don't think that I'm too happy about the markets with all that going on. What are you guys feeling like? Omar, what's going on, man? He says, feeling bullish. I like that. Andrew says, GME is 5 up from the larger pullback. Oh, you're talking about the rally? Yeah. Let me see here. Good to see you, bullish, says Peter. Good to see you guys. All right. Yeah. So, man, oh man. So let's see here. If we actually look at, didn't have them pulled up here, but those Bitcoin ETFs, right? We had almost 900 million. That was on the 4th of January. So a few days back. That is the second highest inflow day since we started back in January. But also, I want you guys to understand that is not going to be the highest day. They're going to get bigger. I've been talking to you guys for months now about how the process works. We've had a few surprises with the last month with what people were investing in the first quarter, like Wisconsin state pension coming out and putting a little bit in there. That was surprising. Usually, they don't get into new ETFs. They wait a while, like a year or something. And then you have these other, big money managers and whatnot, and they have to do all their due diligence. And that can take months to do, guys. So I think we've barely seen the beginning of what we're going to get overall, especially as Bitcoin continues to rally. And they see that. Now, it's not going to be the same as you or I, where we stand and go, oh, man, I should have got in lower there, right? We're talking big money. They're interested in longer term. They're not so much interested about exactly where they get in as they are about it being an okay product to get into and something that will steadily kind of continue higher. And so that's what they're looking at. They're not, a lot of people think, oh, well, it's ETFs. Well, it's easy in, easy out. And it is. But when we talk about these bigger players like money managers and things like that coming in, they usually tend to stay in at least a year and often even longer than that. And so you're not talking about this simple thing where they're selling out. As a matter of fact, I've shown you guys the COT report, the Commitment of Traders report, that's the futures. And we see that the institutional, so the money managers, the ETFs, stuff like that, continue to increase their long positions. They've done this for months now, while the hedge funds are at record shorts. Hedge funds continuing to short, right? They're also very large short on MicroStrategy, even though MicroStrategy's rallied 467%, I believe, or so this year, or the last 6 months. They're still adding onto those shorts, right? And so, this kind of creates an interesting squeeze scenario, possibility, with Bitcoin kind of breaks that all-time high. And that's what I've been talking about, the idea that maybe they'll launch it into the 80s. I think it seems to me like a rally up to 100,000 before we get a more meaningful pullback would be the most likely thing. It doesn't mean we go to, 100,000 overnight or anything, but in terms of like maybe a 25 or 30% pullback or something like that, I think that happens probably closer to 100,000 than not. So we'll see how that plays out. At the end of the day, the idea should be that we go up higher for longer. If you guys tune into our Wednesday show, Beards and Bitcoin, with myself, Andrew, and Tillman, there's a lot of information coming at you guys there. Again, from the charts, from the miners, macroeconomics, from institutions, and stuff that Andrew's hearing from his connections over there. So, you're getting this great on that chart. You're getting a great three-pronged approach to what's potentially going on with price and where it may be headed and what, how and why. So hopefully you guys are tuning in on it. We actually have a lot of fun. It's an easy conversation. But anyway, yeah. So basically 3 days ago, the 4th or whatever, we had 886 million on the inflows. And then we had almost 500 million the next day. We had 488 million. And then yesterday, a little bit lower here, 217 million. And that's in spite of BlackRock bringing in almost 350 million. There was about 96.5 million outflow there from ARK. And then, 37.6 million outflow from GBTC. But GBTC's outflows have become, again, as we talked about, it would likely happen. It starts getting to that point where it's not an everyday thing anymore. It's an every other day, every few days kind of thing. And that'll probably continue to trickle out there. So, but the big question is, people say, oh, well, all this money coming to the ETFs, why isn't price going up? It must be manipulated. They don't actually own the Bitcoin. It's all BS. No, all that conspiracy theory nonsense is BS, guys. Okay. At the end of the day, remember, price is dictated not just by the ETFs, spot, futures, which includes, options and perps and stuff like that. ETFs, all that stuff, right? All these things come in together to tell us what price is. It's not one leads, it's not like it's only one thing tells you what's going on. So yes, we've had a lot of inflows from the ETFs recently, but we still have a lot of outflows as well. As a matter of fact, I don't have the chart with me at the moment here, but you guys can go look up long-term holders. And usually once you start getting toward that all-time high, the long-term holders start selling right into that. And then as it goes up through into new all-time highs, they continue selling. Usually this has meant significant pullbacks after the halving, right? Before it starts heading up again. We've barely moved, guys. We're still in this range. So when you say, okay, well, all this keeps coming in from the ETFs and why are we going up? Well, it's because it's being met by massive selling, which so far has tempered the pullback significantly less than what it normally does. I think we're probably nearing an all-time high here, a breakout. That doesn't mean we can't pull back a bit more before we do. We'll look at the chart here in a minute, but you've got to, unfortunately, with social media, a lot of conspiracy theories come out. And it's not that conspiracy theories are all wrong. Truth is often previously as conspiracy theory, right? But we have to be careful that we don't start believing everything's a conspiracy theory, right? And there's just a lot to understand about markets that the layman, the retail, the average retail trader really doesn't understand. But yeah, they do hold Bitcoin. Their wallets are online. You can find all that stuff, guys. It's just prices also being met by a lot of selling. And the result is we've pulled back significantly less than what we normally do after halving. So there's that on that, okay? I'm going to throw something at Fibbo in a minute. There's an ETF, he says. Let me see here. Andrew says, smoke and mirrors with Roaring Kitty. What else is going on here? Let me see. What would you say? Roaring Kitties would miss this stream. Oh, mine over Roaring Kitty stream. The news literally has Roaring Kitty's live stream on the network going. I mean, hey, it's huge, right? Because I mean, you can't deny the effect, right, that he's having on all this. Whatever you want to believe about it, it is something quite interesting to watch. Again, I've been in the markets for 30 years this year, guys. 30 years. Never seen. I can't think of anything that I've ever seen that's been similar to the Roaring Kitty thing. And it's quite huge. Again, he promises he's going to, buy his call options. He needs 200 and whatever that was, 220 million to do it. I mean, yeah, it's quite the spectacle. But markets don't normally work like that, right? But this isn't your everyday market thing. But so, it gets interest and people want to watch. They want to see, some people want to go, yeah, let's see if he does it. Other people want to see him, crash and burn, right? When you talk about NASCAR racing, right? Oh, it's so boring. It's so boring. No, everybody's just waiting for the crash, right? When you watch hockey, what are you waiting for? Most hockey fans will tell you they're waiting for the fights, right? Everybody's waiting for the crash and burn, the downturn, the negative stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes there. What's going on, Murray? Good to see you checking in. Let me see what you guys got going on here. You guys are great. Frontier Airlines is stopping sales while this stream happens. Wait, what? But yeah, it's crazy things, guys. Again, for me, just from a market participant, longtime market participant standpoint, I really find it interesting. In COVID, when the meme stock thing happened, right now with what Roaring Kitty's doing right there, the Bitcoin, the whole Bitcoin thing, that was my draw into here, guys. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't a Bitcoin person when I first came in. I knew about it in 2009, 2010, and I thought, man, yeah, that might be something cool to do. Mine some Bitcoin. And then life got in the way, and I forgot about it. And then, in 2017, January 2017, I stumbled back into the whole thing in the crypto Twitter rabbit hole there on Twitter. And that renewed my interest in being a market participant. At that time was heavily forex. I went, wow, there's this crazy things, Bitcoin thing. And that's why those of you who've been following me since then, you remember back then I said, man, listen, this is like a once in a lifetime, once in a generation, once in a century type thing. This opportunity we have with Bitcoin. And when I said that, Bitcoin was around $1,100, $1,200. It was January of 2017. And what is it now? It's 70 somewhat thousand, and headed up to 100 plus thousand. So it's pretty cool, So yeah, I like watching all this kind of interesting stuff that happens. I really love when the market doesn't do what people think it's supposed to do, because it's always done that, right? So we talk about inverting yield curves over the past few years. We talk about, supposed to be the end of the rally, and then big, moves come in. And even I thought a few years back that we were coming up to this big, potentially big kind of global depression thing, right? But we didn't never have the blow off top I was looking at in the stock market, right? When we looked at the indexes. And those who've been following me since then will remember, just a few years back, I remember I was like, well, we're not having that. And then I started talking about this idea that we still have another push up. We were looking for a 3-wave pullback and rally up. And that, of course, is what we've got. And, of course, we're back to new all-time highs. So for me, what I think I need to see, for those of you that are interested, to say that that we're probably heading into a recession, if not a depression, right? And I say depression because it's been about 100 years since the last one we had here in the U.S., okay? Excuse me. So what I'm looking for is that big kind of blow off top in the indexes, the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P. I'm looking for that big move, because it should be, in terms of Elliott wave, this grand super cycle, right? And that usually ends with a blow off top. People get overly exuberant, right? Because normally they don't. Normally they get overly exuberant there in the third wave. But once you're getting above a certain degree of wave and you start getting into, super cycles, grand super cycles and stuff like that, now you're looking for that fifth wave blow off. Because what it is, it's multiple of the smaller and they're getting bigger, wave degrees kind of coming to a head at the same point. So for me, If you want to know what I'm looking for, generally speaking, it's nothing in what's being said anywhere. It's nothing in economic numbers. It's nothing in government numbers. I'm looking at the charts, and I want to see some sort of really strong hyper rally and a blow off top. Okay. Peter says roaring 20s. Yeah, I was the one arguing back at the beginning of the 20s that I was like, well, everybody's talking about this potentially being the roaring 20s, a repeat of the 1920s. But what if it's actually not? What if it's sooner, right? What if we're actually getting it before before we get deep into the 20s? But like I said, as any good market analyst will do, right? As any good technician will do, you look at it and you go, well, it looks like I'm probably wrong here. So what's the next possible thing? I was looking for, what was my confirmation? I was looking for a blow off top. We didn't get it. So here we are again, right? We're doing good here. So yeah, got a lot going on. So that happened there with the what's it called? The unemployment today, right? We had the NFP jobs report that came out today. And let me just check back on my notes here again. Yeah. Non-farm payrolls were expected to be 185,000. They actually rose by 227,000. So surprise to the upside there, would suggest strong growth, right? Strong economy. Unemployment, though, was 3.9% last time. They expected it to stay at 3.9%. This time it inched up to 4.0. So what does that tell you? If unemployment's going up and your jobs numbers are going up, what does that tell you? Well, the jobs number isn't telling the full story, right? Just the 227,000, right? Where are the jobs coming from? And what you'll probably see when you look at it is that you've got a lot more part-time jobs coming in, right? So you're losing full-time jobs, gaining maybe some part-time jobs. And that would kind of give you that possibility where you can see the numbers rally, as far as the overall numbers rising while the unemployment actually drops down or rises up, right, with it. So, and then you have to look at things like underemployment. Underemployment says, okay, how many of those people that are actually able to work are looking for work, right? You've got underemployment, you've got all those kind of things like that. You look at all these different things, and what you find is there's a lot of stuff going on, right? Maybe some government finagling with the numbers, but the reality of it is as well, guys, the numbers that are reported by the BLS, these are surveys that are sent out to companies and whatnot, and they're voluntary. They don't have to be answered, right? And when they are answered, they're not always answered in a timely manner. So that's why a lot of times you're going to see adjustments of numbers. You go here and then you'll have the adjustment next month. And when you get next month's numbers, you'll adjust this month's numbers. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. But at the end of the day, I'll be honest with you, you don't have to worry about all that if you're going to trade, right? I show you this every week on here. You just have to learn how to understand what the charts are saying, because that's where it comes first. People tell you how they're feeling by whether or not they're willing to buy into the stock market and how much they're willing to buy into it. That is the quickest way we get an understanding of everybody's feelings of how they feel, right? Your economic numbers from the government, all these things, those are all lagging. Those are all behind. That's always what's already happened. If you want to know what society's feeling at the point, right? Look at how the market's doing. It is the quickest way you can know. So that's why we focus on that, right? I can talk at length about numbers coming in and what they mean and why, as I happen to like macroeconomics, though not from an econometrics perspective, which is what most people seem to be doing these days, where most of them are going with it. I'm more of the original idea of macroeconomics, and economics in general, which is this relationship between human beings, right? Rather than trying to come up with econometric models, giving everything numbers and trying to figure it out that way. So yeah, that's what we're doing, right? So anyway, yeah, so we talk about it sometimes. We say, here are things going on, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's all in the charts, guys. It's just, are you able to read it? And even if you are, it doesn't mean you're going to read it correctly all the time, right? Right? Right. That's right. Okay. So I guess what we can do is we can go ahead and jump here at the charts if you guys would like to see the charts. Yes, we want to see the charts. Okay. I heard you guys. Glad to hear you. Let me see here. Let me kind of get this chart set up a little bit better here for you. So again, same range we've been in for 90 somewhat days now, right? And so we got this push up here, and we kind of hit this buy side liquidity right up here at this May 21st swing high, right? A little bit more right here on June 24th, and then we kind of hit just through those areas, and we're getting rejected a bit. Not surprising at all. Perfectly fine. And so, we could even pull back here to the daily pivot around 65,800, be perfectly fine, guys. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. All right. And that may even be possibly something that we do. You can see here we've got 3 waves down. We've got 1, 2. Well, let me see. Where's the low here? 67,000, 67,080. Okay. Well, 1, 2. Well, and that'd be maybe a 3, 4, and a 5 here. So it's possible we could continue to break out here. I don't know. I look at this. We're pretty high on the stochastic RSI here. We're almost overbought, but RSI still has a lot of room. Jump out to the weekly. Weekly's just getting started here, though, on the rally, right? So I could see us popping out here and rallying, but we would have to do it, right? We're going to actually have to do the deed. I think a lot of traders get caught up, or actually what I know is a lot of traders get caught up in this idea that things have to happen on their time frame, right? It has to happen right now. If I buy in, price has to go up immediately. It can't ever pull back before where I entered. And as a matter of fact, it's going up. It needs to keep going up. It can't even pull back along the way, right? I mean, that's how most traders feel. And let's be honest, it's because they're entering the market and they don't understand the market. And they don't understand how to trade it, right? I mean, again, I say things like this, and sometimes I get flack. I'll get somebody, getting offended that I said that about them, because they take it personally, right? Because that's what's happening. It's not meant to be taken personally. It's just a fact. This is what's going on. And if when I say this, it offends you, then that's really your cue that you need to do something to learn how to trade, to learn how and why markets actually really move the way they do. Because if you're going to be in the market, you can't, you said everybody thinks, I can be in the market and not know what I'm doing. And then I can complain when something happens and I lose money. No, you can't. I mean, you can try, but nobody cares because you're in the market. You should know what you're doing, right? You should know that you're in it. I mean, if you jump into a car to drive it and you have no experience driving cars, matter of fact, you've never seen a car in your life, and you go and you jump one and you figure out that pushing that pedal is going to make it go, right? But you don't understand traffic laws. You don't understand, how to drive it. And you crash into somebody, or somebody crashes into you because you aren't following the laws and whatever, right? And how to drive or driving it effectively, right? Do you really think you have a right to jump out there and go, oh my gosh, it's his fault. It's no fair. No. But yet people do this in trading all the time. It's like, oh, it's not my fault. Yes, it is your fault. Just like everything else in your life. You listen, before I go on here, I need to make something clear here, guys, okay? If you want to get ahead in life, in trading, and especially in life, understand this. You have a responsibility in every single thing that happens to you. Now, that doesn't mean if somebody wrongs you that, that they don't have responsibility. They do have responsibility. If they're wronging you, that they have responsibility, right? But every decision you have made in your life has led to that point. That's point one. So you have a responsibility for being in that situation to begin with. Point two, not only has that happened, but you should ask yourself, why did I allow myself to get taken advantage of? What didn't I do that I should have done? Why didn't I protect myself? And this is tough for most people. And this is why most people go through life unhappy, not reaching the success they want in whatever it is they want, whether it's work, business, relationships, friendships, hobby, whatever they're doing. I'm telling you guys, if you can understand what I just said there, your life is going to change so dramatically. Because what it allows you to do is it allows you to let go. This is what most people have trouble letting go. And this is what happens in trading, right? We have trouble letting go. We get a bad trade and we can't go on, right? We're stuck on that bad trade. And we're like, it's somebody else's fault, right? As long as we continue blaming it on somebody else, we can't move on. Because as long as it's somebody else's fault, it's not our fault, right? And if it's not our fault, well, then there's nothing for us to change. We're not doing anything wrong, right? But we are. So when you understand this, like I'm saying this here, right? This is a big psychological shift. But when you do that, it allows you to go, okay, I did something wrong here. Now, let me figure out what I did wrong. Let me figure out how to make it right so I don't do it again. And then I can go on and continue trading. It's huge, guys. I'm going to tell you, y'all come out here, and some of you guys, spend years going through 500 different trading strategies, trading styles, trying to find something that works, right? But you've never gotten through the mental, the emotional side of it. And that's what's holding you back, right? Over the Trading Academy, I've got everything. I teach you how to day trade for income. I'll teach you how to forecast for creating wealth. I teach you how to understand accumulation and distribution so that you can jump in when I was telling people, like, listen, this is accumulation down here at 15.5, 16,000 for Bitcoin. And you can jump in then. Or when I said, listen, Sol is a buy here at $9 and some change, or Link is going to drop down through this range low here that we've been watching, $4 or $5. You want to buy that because that's going to be a spring here of this accumulation rate. So many people have been watching me and heard me call through all that and never once entered. And then we went sideways for 7 months around 30,000, 25 to 30,000. And everybody out there, all your big accounts kept telling you why it had to go down, it had to go down. And we kept looking at it as, no, this is reaccumulation. This is what's going on here. Right? It broke out. So this is what we teach, right? We teach you how and why markets actually move the way they do. And everything I teach from ICT to Elliott wave theory to Wyckoff method to all my own kind of price action stuff that I've learned throughout the last 30 years. Everything I teach you all leads to an understanding of how and why markets move like they do. Because once you get that, you can use those things, those tools, or you can create your own tools. But until you understand that, it's more like just kind of throwing money and hoping it sticks, right? So that's why I'm so passionate about that. That's why I come out here every week, right? And I talk to you guys about this. And some people get a little, unnerved about it because I'm talking about this other stuff, say giving them charts and targets all the time, right? But listen, I appreciate that you want to understand where price is going. But if the thing that you should be listening to are these other things I'm talking about, this is the real gold. This is the stuff that's going to make a difference between whether you're successful or not in the long run. Okay? So, anyway, Mike says, accumulate this summer, retire next summer. I don't know, Mike. We've been accumulating for over 3 months already. This reaccumulation's been in here since March 5th. We're now here at June 7th, right? That's 3 months. We're still in this range here, right? This overall range. Can it, continue through the summer? Sure. We might have to adjust the range a bit, our understanding of the range. But right now, that doesn't look to be the case. Right now, this is usually what we expect, right before we get the big breakout, the big candle to jump across the creek. It's large candle spread, large volume, kind of similar to this coming out through this supply here, right? So I don't know. I wouldn't, I'm not saying it can't continue accumulating. I'm not here to tell the price what it has to do. I'm here to read it as it's working, right? Right now, though, my thought is we've got a chance of breaking out and rallying, sooner than the end of the summer. So yeah, a lot going on there, right? But again, even if we were to pull back here, and by the way, I would expect the daily pivot here to hold, the pivot here on the daily at around 65,800. I would expect that. And if you got the opportunity to buy here, I would seriously be looking for a reason to buy here if you get that opportunity, because that next move is going to be the move up, right? Again, if we jump out here to the weekly pivot, the weekly, right? this setup here where we have this sideways in between the pivot and the R1, and it rallies impulsively up halfway into the R3 there like this, and it pulls back. It's finding support around the R2. This is an extremely bullish setup. This most often, almost completely every time, will break out through the R5 pivot. So, I mean, if you zoom out and you take a bigger picture look at what Bitcoin's doing, I've been talking about this for a while now, ever since we got kind of this move in here, right? 100 and whatever this is here, 118, 118.5. This shouldn't be a difficult target to reach at all. And, I've got larger targets up there, obviously, guys, I've talked to you about 178 or so, and then I'll have to look again, maybe it was like 234 or something like that, depending on what kind of movement we get through here. But yeah, but that would be most likely Q3 of next year, of 2025, when we're getting something like 200,000 or somewhere around there. Okay. So, as we look here, there's nothing bearish about this here. We've got the volume continues to drop off through the range. We got a bit of a volume rally here on this spring. We came back and tested. We came back lower. Look at that volume. Significantly less volume than we had there. That's a proper pullback. We're up here, and now we're trying to break out through again this level of all-time short interest for hedges, right, on the futures market. So absolutely kind of crazy thing. A lot of stuff going on. Love seeing it. Let's jump over here to Ethereum, Bitcoin. So we've been talking about this since we were still kind of up here in the range, looking at some possibilities. And look what happens here. So we get this drop. See this low volume node? We just dropped in that low volume node, right? If we go over here, we find our resistance right away. The resistance. We had a little wick out and back. That's our resistance there. We broke out. We find support back on this resistance, right? It makes sense where it's at. So for me, and again, look at the volume through here. Look at this volume just drops off just massively, right? And then we get some interest down here. This just little bit of interest locally, right? And then boom, pops up. This is pretty clearly a third wave. It's large candle spread, large spike of volume. So we get the pullback here toward the pivot, looking for a rally from around the pivot area to send us up higher. Yeah. So basically the idea here, I think I kind of talked to the Scott show, is that we get this move off the pivot into the R1, back down toward the pivot. Let me see here. That thing's getting all crazy there. Try and draw it one more time. So basically a rally up to the R1 pivot area, pull back down toward the pivot. And then we've got a wave, that would finish wave 1, wave 2, and then wave 3 would get us this move up here toward about, Ethereum against Bitcoin 0.085 area. That's what I expect to happen here. So as we get around this area, I'm looking for that reversal up to the R1, pulling back here. And if you're trading this pair, this is where you want to go long, right? This is where Ethereum really starts moving out against Bitcoin here. So, if you have to have a narrative, if you have to have what's going on in the real world to make this happen, I mean, you can think in terms of potentially the ETF, maybe the Ethereum ETFs launching. Maybe they do extremely well, kind of like the Bitcoin ETFs did, and that's what carries it there. Okay. So, again, what does that tell you? That tells you Ethereum is going to, work harder against Bitcoin. Does that mean that Bitcoin has to go down and Ethereum has to go up? No. All that means is that Ethereum needs to go up at a greater clip than Bitcoin is. It needs to outpace Bitcoin on a rally. That's all it means. So now it could mean, of course, that Bitcoin starts pulling back and then Ethereum takes off as well. That could also happen. But I'm just here to say, because everybody thinks that's the only way it happens. But the other way it happens is they both go up. It's just that Ethereum moves up a lot quicker over the same amount of time than what Bitcoin does. Right? Right. Okay. As we look here, a simplified chart here, looking at the S&P. This is the E-minis here. Again, we had this swing high here, swing high, pull back. Here we go again. Based on the height of this pullback here, we've got a target at 54.69 and a quarter. It's the next target on the way up. Now, it can go shorter, it can go longer, but the way we generally look at it is we usually look for it to kind of reach it. Kind of like when we look for wave 3 to at least reach the 1618 extension of wave 1. So this is still where I'm looking to go. You can see we had the pullback here on the jobs release this morning on the numbers. We had the pullback and then boom, it's higher now. And so, overall, this is the daily. We've still got room. Stochc RSI hasn't even hit overbought yet. RSI, has a lot of room here as well into overbought that it could still go for price to go up higher. So little reason to think we're getting any like significant pull down further on that. I think we continue heading up there. Locally, well, it depends on what it closes today. Well, no, we're not going to do that. We'll go with this right here. The weekly, as you can see, we do have a lower high at the moment and a higher high here. This does not say bearish divergence yet because we haven't continued lower, right? Which is barely here. So, as this continues pushing up, this can continue pushing up and eventually could get higher than the RSI over here. So be careful, when people are online, they're saying, oh, look, bearish divergence or bullish divergence, and the move hasn't completed. If this move hasn't completed yet, which obviously it hasn't since it just pulled back barely and it's still going up, this is not necessarily going to even be bearish divergence. If this thing ends up closing above its previous swing high over there, it won't be, right? So you always want to keep that in mind, especially with the Stochc RSI here on the weekly, just now kind of pushing out above neutral there. So a lot of room left on the RSI up here in the Stochc RSI for price to continue to push higher. But man, see, this is what I'm talking about when I said we didn't have a blow off top. We didn't have a blow off top. So this became 3 waves down. It's corrective. Based on that alone, the height, the target would be up there around 58.50 or so. Same, technique we use right here to find this target. I've been talking ever since we didn't get that blow off top. And even before I was saying, well, if we didn't get it, the idea would be that the next move up for the Dow would be 50,000. I talked about that, I think last week. So I'm still looking for it to head up there 50,000. The S&P should probably hit 10,000 then. Yeah. So I don't see any reason going on here to think that, oh my God, it's the end of the world yet. And and they actually have to crash now. Everything continues to stay higher for longer at this point overall. Okay. Again, we've been talking about RTY here. That's the E-minis for the Russell 2000, which is a small cap index. I was talking about the idea that this is looking like potentially accumulation here, and then we got the spring, and then we got the move out and rally up higher. This does appear to be a triangle for wave 4 here. And so we're doing an A, B, working on a C for wave E. It could still pull back further. But ultimately, we should be looking for these 5 waves up to rally up here to 2339. What does 5 waves up mean? Well, these are 3 waves down. That's corrective because we've broken up above the second wave. 5 waves up means 5 up, 3 back. Gives us a 1 and a 2, and then we have a 3 and a 4 and a 5 before we even finish a 5-wave sequence for the small caps. So again, everybody's talking about the end of the world and everything's crashing and all these bad things are going to happen, but the markets right now are not suggesting that. Okay? The markets are not saying, they don't appear to be saying that that's what's going to happen. As long as the markets aren't saying that, I'm not worried about that. There's no reason to be, right? No, probably some of y'all here are so used to all this idea that you need all this fundamental analysis and all this other stuff that, you're probably going, oh my God, he's such an idiot. It's okay. There's just things you pick up if you're doing it right after 30 years. And, reading the charts has become the thing that makes the most sense. It's the most consistent producer of profits I've found. Because remember what I said earlier, what's going on in the charts is you and me and everybody else voting what we're feeling with our dollars. It is the fastest way to know how we're feeling generally, right? Fundamentals. How many cars is Tesla going to produce? Is Costco going to pull back and fire? All these things, Amazon, is it going to grow? Is it going to? All that is secondary stuff. That's all based on the way that people are already spending their money. It's already based on the way that people are spending their money. So why wait for that derivative of the way people are spending their money rather than just looking at what they're doing? If I haven't convinced you yet, stick around. Come back week after week. I'll do my best to convince you, okay? Let me see here. So again, small cap still looking good. We talked about it was a great buy down here at 1,600 and almost 1,650. We've ultimately rallied up to 2164.5, and then currently they're at 2,000 right now. So another great move it's been. Let me see here. Sol, everybody's all excited about Sol, and then they got all depressive, right? Because it pulled down here from almost 210 down to around 117, 116, just to pull back along the way, guys. It still looks good right now as we're going up. This is the weekly R5 pivot. I've been talking about that for a while here, saying that it should be an easy target. 410 should be a pretty easy target there. You can see that obviously takes us above the all-time high. I've got an initial target, though, around $301 that I'm looking at first. And so still continuing up in that general manner there. Yeah. I mean, it looks good. Everything looks fine. It's not moving up the second, everybody buys, so they get all upset about it. But yeah, it's all right. It's good, right? What else we got here? Oh, the DXY. Let's talk about this. So we got the breakdown. And we go back in here after this morning's numbers, right? This isn't done yet, though. We'll see how the day ends. It's possible we could get rejected here and close back below this ascending support. But basically, overall speaking, other than that, I'm looking for this yellow area here to hold as resistance. And then if it were to continue through that, I would expect to see the R1 pivot here on the weekly hold as resistance there. So if we were to do it, that's where I would kind of look for price to rally to if we were to get up that high. But ultimately, again, this is the weekly here. We've rallied up here. This is all, you get this here, down to kind of this area here. Right there. So this is basically just this sideways, right? You have this overlapping here. You have your pushes up into here. And as you can see, you have this supply structure up here, which is really holding everything in. So again, the rally and drop down here should be what's coming, I believe. Again, this looks like ABC, ABC. So it does appear to be a correction. So what does that mean? If this is a WXY up here, so this would be a wave 1, this would be a wave 2. Well, then break it down below this swing low here at 102.358. We'll add confidence that it'll confirm that, and it'll say, okay, we're heading lower. So again, you get a 1, you get a 2, and you'll come on breaking on down, coming here toward 95,616 local target, but expected to fall further over time with that. So yeah, I don't, not surprised at all. Again, those of you that have been following me since back here, we talked about this being the low down here. I was on many shows talking about that. I had that 114, 115 target, which is actually what we hit here, almost 115, right? And so we got it. And from there, I said we should be heading back lower. And all we've kind of done really, we had the big sharp sell-off at first, and then we've kind of been sideways here since about January of 23. A little deviation, but really just been sideways since that time. But I do expect it to continue falling lower overall. Let me see here. Yeah, the weekly looks like it could be a hammer there, sure. But doesn't mean it, it doesn't mean that it has to make new highs here. And by the way, if it does break out above this supply here, I'm looking up here at 110.076 as the target. But, here on the weekly, we're just kind of, we haven't reset down and oversold. Not that it has to, but generally speaking, that's what it does, right? That's what it does. RSI is just bullish and neutral, but again, been hovering here forever, not making those moves between oversold and overbought. So, and once again, we'll have to see how this closes today, but we could still be looking. I'm still looking for further downside myself. From here, still looking at that. Let me see here. It's a nice daily candle, though. I'll give it that. It's a nice daily candle. Swing low 103.993, 103.999. Yeah, so potentially ABC, potentially 1, 2, 3, right? It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gives us A, B, C, then follows down. Very much possible. But right now it is 3 waves up. So if we were to fall back down below this swing low here at 103.999, instead of 3, pulling back 4, and then going 5, if we were to top out and pull back and drop below that, that would say, okay, well, the rally's done. We're heading lower again. That's the great thing about Elliott Wave, guys. It gives you structure. It lets you know what's going on, right? Let me see here. Gold and silver, what's going on with these guys? Let's see. So gold locally here, it looks like ABC and then ABC. And it looks like potentially ABC up here, which would mean it's a flat correction. So 3 down, 3 up, and then you look for 5 down. So that's what it looks like to me. And so wouldn't be surprised to see this continue lower, or it could even be a WXY, that comes down here. But basically looking for it probably to target this S1 pivot on the daily right around 2271.5 or so. That's my initial target. And if we do continue breaking down through there, I would look down here toward, 2150 to 2175 area. But it just looks like it's all part of still correcting here before it rallies up higher. And I think we see maybe something similar here on silver. Okay, maybe not. Let's look at 5 up. Let me see here. Pull this out of the way. But you can see we are making another new low here. Looks like 5 down. So we could potentially see it here or a little bit lower, and then maybe 3 up toward the 31.27 area, and then 5 more down before we get the rally up higher. So, nice big bearish engulfing candle here. It's not closed for the day yet. Obviously, we still have some hours left before the end of the day, but we are getting more impulsive volume than what we've had locally here. As a matter of fact, bigger volume than what we've had since this rally up here on the 28th of May. So that's what I'm kind of looking at here. We'll see if we can get that move, ultimately down further before we kind of get the move up higher with that. Oh, let me see. Lotus company stock. Yeah, we can look at that. Lotus, huh? That is I give you a gold star there. Nobody's ever asked for Lotus before. Oops, just want to make a copy of this. Why am I making copies? Come on. There we go. My brain's doing one thing, my hands are doing another. You guys ever deal with that? Let's see what Lotus has here. Lotus always had that great suspension, amazing handling. Got some cool looking little cars in the past too. All right, what do we got here? Well, this chart isn't as much fun as the cars. Let me see here. What do we got going on here? Let me see. What do we got here? What do we got? We've got a rally up of 78.6. Trying to see if this is a down then up, or this is a down then up, or an up and then down here. Let's see. Not give me any help. Minute ago showed. Okay, it's an up and then down. Okay, so this is the first down. It's important to know when you're counting waves. Okay. So that's a 1 and then a 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is the swing low here? 550, 550. Okay, so this looks like 3, 4. This could be 5 with a similar low here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at that same low. So then we look from here and we go up and go, okay, well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like that's 5 up. This looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. So let's see here. Right here around the 61.8. So if I'm looking at this, where are we at the weekly? All those pivots are there. Okay. Daily down there. Right around the 78.6. I could see this potentially falling 70.5 or 78.6 to get in this daily Stoke or daily RSI back down to oversold. That's what I would look for right now. Let me see if I can figure where that is exactly. 1385 on the high. Low down here at 550. Yeah, so if I'm looking at this right now, my first thought would be we'd probably head on down here to 722 or 670 before I'd be looking probably for a reversal right around these areas. That's where I would be looking for a reversal. And if you can get it off that, you know, you're going to want to see an impulsive breakout above the pivot. And that'll, you know, signal that that the bottom's probably in here. You want an impulsive breakout and close above that daily pivot. Looking for a higher move up after that. But yeah, right now, I don't think it rallied from the 61.8. I think we still head on down to the 70.5 or the 78.6 on that. From the 70.5, That would give us a $31.30, 31.35 kind of area target. If we get down to the 78.6 area, that would actually give us a third wave up there at around $29. So that's what I'd be looking at for Lotus. If it does break down below this $5.50, then that obviously invalidates that. And, I think you might end up going quite a bit lower on that then. I definitely wouldn't be interested in buying it at that point. I'd have to, look for another possibility of it reversing. Yeah. What do you say? Rory Kitty showed his down 235 million on the day. You counted 5 up here on Lotus too? Yeah, I think that's probably what we have here. Yeah. I think it looks pretty good there. What else we got there? We'll look at ton USDT. Let me see. Ton USDT. Let's see what it says. Yeah, I mean, you're hitting buy side liquidity up here. Was this all-time highs? Yeah. Let me see here. Off here, it looks like we got a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4. As long as that low holds there and we break out higher, we should have at least target of $8.37 or so. But this looks like this very well, especially with the as overbought as we are on the daily Stochk RSI and RSI right up there above oversold. We're just beyond. By the way, look, see, aggressive movement up, continues going. Yeah, I think that's a minimum target, and then beyond that, probably look up here about $10.58 as the next target. Just some quick targets on the pull here, but this could be ABC, ABC, and then we'd look. So if we're not breaking out toward that area, we get this breakdown here. We should be looking for it to come back down toward this swing low here at $4.60. And then that'll still give us this target up here at $10.58. So you get 3 waves down, 3 waves up. So A, B, and then 5 waves back down toward this swing low area. Either right to it, right above it, right to it, right below it, just that area. And that would complete a flat correction before sending it up. And if I look at that, because if I'm looking here, I'm going, okay, well, this is 1, 2, this is 3, 4, and this is 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, if we get this rejection here come down, which it looks like it might, that would be a 1, 2, and then 3, 4 is a flat 5 up here, which means we're still building within all this here, of course, as well. Well, 1, 2 here, that'd probably be 3. So if I'm looking at this, let me see here. Yeah. So I think what we may be seeing, if I'm just grabbing this here real quick, it's 1, 2, 3, 5. Right here, maybe a 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives us 3. Maybe a 4 and then a 5. Watching for a, I'm not saying it has to reject here, but I'm watching for a rejection around here to potentially print a flat. And if we do, you should be looking for it to come back down here around that wave A. And then that would give you your wave 4, which would then give you your wave 5 of 3 up here at around $10.50. And then your wave 4 should pull back to this area, right? So if we look here, we measure this out. Gives almost a 200%, right? That's where we generally look. Look, 1, 2, 3, right around the 1618, 5, right around the $11 area. And pulling back then off here, 38.2 right there at about 53.950, or 50% at 4.379. But usually looking at that the 38.2 as the first target. Okay. So yeah, that's probably what I'm looking at. Again, it doesn't have to get rejected here, but if it does, it's probably 3 down, 3 up, and 5 down toward this $5.90. Nope, toward the $4.60 area here to finish off wave 4, and then you've got a good buy, almost 150%, 125%, 150% running it up to that target there, and then you get your 4, and then you get your 5 out higher. But we'll wait for that depending on how this plays out. Let me see here. And then let me see here. Can I look at STX? Is that a shitcoin? Is that a or do you mean like a stock? I guess we'll try the cryptocurrency. And then you can tell me if it's a stock that you're looking for. Fibo. Let's see here. STX. Is it one? There is one. Stacks. Okay. Oh, look at that little snake curl. Looks great, huh? What do we got going on here? Okay, this looks like probably a flat here. Let's see here. Start it here. Yeah, the degree of this pullback here suggests it's a wave 2. And then A, B, C here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2. If I'm looking at this, this looks, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right, this looks like maybe an interior wave 4 here, which would give us a target. I like the daily candle today. It's a nice bullish engulfing candle right here, or weekly, I'm sorry. We're getting more volume in it. We're bouncing off neutral on our side there and curled up toward a impulsive breakout from there. So that looks good. I like the way that looks on the weekly. Where does this take us? Let me see. So we've got a wave 3 up here at 82.76. So that's where I would be looking right now. You can look for the $6.20 target on the way. But definitely looking toward the $8.27.5 target up there to get us a 3. Off that. So click on the daily here. I mean, it's a nice impulsive break. It looks like this is a 3-day on this descending resistance here. You get a large candle spread. A bit more volume than the previous 3 days. Let's look at the daily here. Yeah, there we go. Now we get a spike of volume here on the daily, breaking us out through that. That looks good. Locally, looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 is finished here. So I would look for a pullback down toward just above the daily pivot probably. And you see you got the 50% right there at the top of that, around $2.13. So if that's the top there, if we're done there, again, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get at least to that top of that range right there. It gives us 5 out here at around $4.11. We get back a little bit further toward the pivot, the 61.8. It gets about $3.97.5. It gets us all around this previous swing high, which is usually what you look for, 5 waves up to the previous swing high area. So it looks good there. Looks good. Let me see here. Let's see here. Any thoughts on SMLR? It's a stock which bought Bitcoin. Well, nothing off the top of my head, but is it SMLR? Is that what you said? SMLR, yep. Oh, clicked out of it. Let's see here. By the way, guys, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, please, follow, stuff like that. Leave a comment. It's not for my vanity. It just, the algorithms force that to happen in order to show the video to more people. So if you could do that, I would really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Takes a second of your time. Similar simultaneous. Okay, here we go. Well, if I'm looking at this, I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, working on 5 here. That's what I'm thinking. This is large candle spread, large volume. Looks pretty clear to be a wave 3. And almost the 2618 extension, which is great. 3 waves down, finding support around the pivot, rallying back up here. Yeah, so I would say minimum expect target up here around $40.30 or so, $40.29. Which, as you can see, where it actually hits, where these candles are kind of overlapping a little bit here, as well as where you have this previous resistance. So makes a lot of sense for a target. Now it could go up higher. And if it did, I would expect it to probably come up here into this low volume node around $46.39. It could overextend higher to do that. Let me zoom out 3-day here real quick. I mean, this looks like let's see here. Yeah, so we got more room there. We had a big drop there through the pivot. Yeah, it's pretty close. It is possible this is like an ABC and then ABC. So I guess it's WXY on the pullback here. And this would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just a deep pullback. Of just around 90%. But definitely possible. There's a lot of volume on this candle right here from May 28th, this weekly candle. And did get rejected, but look what happened. We're pushing back up through it. So, a lot of times people see this kind of big up wick on a rally, and they say, oh, look, it's going to reverse, because it tells you there's a lot of supply coming in, right, like this here. But if you don't see follow through, and instead you see price starting to eat back up into it, be really careful, because a lot of times that ends up just being like clearing the runway before you rally up through it. And there's nothing here, right? There's nothing here. So, yeah, you definitely want to overcome this weekly pivot here. If you can get an impulsive breakout on the weekly, impulsive breakout and close above the weekly pivot, that should indicate that you're good to go higher. It's right there around $37, $37.15. But yeah, right now it does look like it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like we got 5 up here toward that 40-30 at least, if not overextension toward 46.39. Either target will keep the pullback, the 50% above the pivot, which is what you want to see on the daily here. So yeah, that's what I'd be watching for. We'll see if we can get that, okay? All right. So what's going on, Michael Johnson? I see you, man. Living Sacrifice, I see you as well. Let me see here. Mark, what's up, man? Jules, you're very welcome. Let's see here. I'm going to have to get out of here in a minute. Let me see here. Can I take a peek at WAML, the non-rebasing version of AMPL? You guys know a lot more about these crazy cryptos than I do. I'll take a look at this, and then I'll get out of here, guys, okay? I think it's what it said, USD, right? There we go. Wait, didn't I just have it? WAML. What did I do wrong here? WMA. What did I do wrong here, guys? Didn't I just pull this up? Somebody help me out here. Somebody help me out here. WAML. Why am I not? Did you make WAML AMPL right here? Is that what you meant? Because I think that's what I typed the first time. Let me see here. Well, I'm going to take a look at it here, okay? This is nice structure. I like to see this. This looks good. You kind of having all your resistance support right in this area here. See here. Yeah, I would look. Looks like it might be nearing an end up here. I might be looking up here around $76 based on this three-wave pullback here. And that'll have you run through these daily pivots here. What's that weekly look like? Oh, it goes right through the, yeah, see another nice impulsive move up through the pivots in the R3, halfway to R4, like the R1. Push up higher there. So yeah, I think you've got some further rally for that. But I think that that'll be the end of this run, it looks like. Now, it could overextend higher, obviously, but just based on the height here of this breakout. If you break out here above, this here's A, B, C here, so above this one, 39.87. You're looking for that breakout above 39.87 to confirm this three-wave pullback, and ultimately be looking up there towards 76.34. So, yeah. So there we go, guys. I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys showing up as always. You can join us over there at TWC Trading Academy, guys. I've got the links below. Get in on that group coaching. I posted some recent from this morning, actually, or overnight, comments from some of our members that are really just kind of doing great stuff over there. And I mean, you know, I can tell you all day that there's really probably not a better place to learn how to trade than what we do over there. But look at what other people are saying. They're actually in there. You know, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to believe me. I've been doing this for 30 years, right? I know what I'm doing. But look at the people that have joined. Look at what they're saying. And, you know, there's a difference between price and value, right? It's especially important when you're looking at charts and just in life. You know, you kind of get what you pay for the most part. So, you know, if I can give you a bit of advice just in life is, you know, do your best to look at value over price. That does, and you know, sometimes people do that and they say, oh, well, but then I can't afford it. You know, I get upset because the thing that I want is more expensive. Well, you know, I didn't get where I am today. You know, it wasn't handed to me. I had to work to get where I'm at today. And the way I learned to do it is if there was something I wanted, I figured out how to get it. I figured out what I needed to do it. Same thing with Bitcoin, guys. You know, if you're out here just buying Bitcoin and you just want to buy and hold Bitcoin, stop looking at price. Buy your Bitcoin, go out, figure out how you can make more money to buy more Bitcoin if that's your thing. If you're a buy and hold 5-10 years down the road, you don't need to trade. I'm telling you now, okay? You don't need to trade. But you know, the important thing in life is doing the things you need to do to get to the things that you want, or to get to where you need, you know, where you want to go. You know, it's if you simply say, oh, well, wherever I'm headed is too far, or it's going to take too long, or it's too expensive, right? If you're looking at those things, there's no conviction in the thing that you want. Okay, which is fine. You don't have to be convicted, you know, in the thing that you want, but just don't lie to yourself. We lie to ourselves so much as human beings, and that's what causes us so much strife and so much conflict in ourselves, guys. Okay. So, by the way, this is what you get with me. You don't just get trading, you get a lot of life stuff as well, because life is what you make of it, right? And too many of us, the government, society, goads us into believing that life is going to be crappy and it has to be crappy and there's nothing we can do about it. And that's a bunch of BS. I'm here to tell you today. Okay. And not just because of the success that I've had, but because of people that have been a lot worse off than me over the years that I've met and I've come across that have had success. It's all in your mindset. All right. All right, guys, listen, I appreciate you all so much for showing up. As always, remember, the only thing you control is how much you lose. So please keep working on that risk management. Next Wednesday, Beards and Bitcoin. Same time, same places. If you're following me there on the other media platforms, of course, the links will be there an hour before the show. But make sure you guys watch it, okay? You guys have an amazing weekend. Trade safe. And man, oh man, I'll see you guys then, or hopefully I'll see you guys in the academy. All right. Take care.